quality is always an issue that comes up in counselling. So how do you ensure the quality of your qualification? One of the things that our audience often asks is, how do I know that the bit of paper I'm getting at the end of my 2 or 3 years is worth something?
I guess it essentially comes down to an understanding, like Heather was saying, about our qualifications being regulated and having a quality standard that matches a level 2, a level 3, a level 4 through counselling. But by us being a regulated awarding organisation, essentially means that we have to hold really high quality standards in order to keep that title, that stamp going. And that means not only that we map against other counselling qualifications at those levels, we map against educational standards in the UK. So our students should know that our counselling qualifications are on a par with other kind of educational standards. So a level 2 in our qualification as a certificate, level 2 qualification in engineering, that has the similar kind of educational standards.
Yes.
In order for us to achieve that, we have to have a series of structures and processes here to be a regulated awarding organisation. So things like our, as Heather mentioned earlier on, our external verification service. We have a large team of external verifiers who are standardised and trained by us, who visit the centres regularly, 2 times a year minimum. And they will be checking that those centres are delivering the qualification in the way that we originally approved them to run it. We have a very rigorous approval process. So when a college or a private centre approaches us and says, we would like to run one of your qualifications, they have to provide a detailed scheme of work, details of the tutors that are going to be delivering that qualification and their qualifications and their experience, details of how they would deal with complaints, how they would deal with potential malpractice. Their policies and procedures come to us as well so we can scrutinise them. They have to show us a full contingency of what would happen if all of their tutors went off sick. How would they support those students to complete? So we do a really thorough approval process, and then our verifiers go in regularly and they check in detail that process is still happening, that students are being supported appropriately, that they're getting the right number of tutorials, essentially that everything that is said on the tin is happening.
Yes.
And then they will look at the students' work as well and make sure that the evidence they're providing to those criteria is being well assessed by the tutors in that team, that the tutors are also feeling supported by management, that essentially the whole process is working for the benefit of those learners. And I guess that's kind of one kind of aspect of what we do.
And I don't know if you said the external verifiers come into head office here twice a year to have a training day. So again, they're all speaking from the same hymn sheet when they go out to the individual centres that they visit. And with external assessment, the things that are marked here at CPCAB, we have assessors' days, usually at every assessment window. So the assessors and the moderators come in to us here. We mark a sample paper together. We agree on the standard. So the assessors don't just sort of go off and do their own thing. It's all moderated and standardised here before they start marking their papers.
Yeah, because I know a lot of students kind of wonder what happens when their work disappears, what the process is, and there's quite a lot of fantasies about that, from it being scrutinised by a group of detectives forensically to people just going, yeah, that looks okay.
I think probably the external assessments of the exams are one of the most kind of mysterious things.
Yes.
What does CPCAB do with those exams? How and why do we write the questions the way that we do? How do we mark them? Who marks them? Where do they go when their papers disappear at the end of their exam? And there is a real detailed process behind the scenes that makes sure that, for example, every student who passes their level 4 exam has been through a very well trained, very well standardised assessor who regularly meets with us and looks at the quality standard for a level 4 that maps against national criteria for a level 4. And if there's the possibility that that assessor thinks that candidate is not proficient, that paper will then go to a second equally trained assessor, a moderator we call it, who will mark it again blind. And if they still come out with a not proficient, then that is the result that goes to the candidate. So every paper that the candidate gets back is looked at twice at the very least. And those people that are marking it are very experienced assessors. They're people that we have confidence in, we guide them. And if we make any kind of qualification changes, that is rolled out in a very detailed process over several years to make sure that the standards don't suddenly fluctuate one year, that people aren't, everybody's not passing one year and then failing the next. It has to say kind of
There's an acclimatisation process. And I think it's interesting that you say that the tutors, the people who teach the students, come here a minimum of twice a year to have a standardisation meeting, and so you can transmit to them, the tutors, what's expected.
That's slightly different. The external
assessors.
verifiers that come here, but also the assessors and moderators come here at every window for the qualification.
Right.
But the tutors come to something else called standardisation training, which we run around the country, usually in the autumn term, and we tend to have a mop-up session, as it were, in the spring, in January, February time. So we go to places like London, Birmingham, Northern Ireland. Sometimes we go to Manchester, Bristol usually. And so tutors come to us on those days, and we do a whole training for that day. So every tutor has to come every 2 years, and new tutors have to come on the first year that they start teaching.
Wow.
So again, that's part of our quality check, that the tutors know what they're doing. And we do offer a kind of introduction to new centres if they either want to come here and we can support them through the beginning of their qualifications, or we can go into the centre or into the college and do it that way.
The whole process, as someone who's a former tutor, the whole process sounds super supportive, because you know if you're going into teach a course, you've never taught it before, you've got the specifications, and to be able to come to a rewarding body and say, look, I need a bit of help and guidance.
Yeah, and I guess backing that up as well, there is paperwork, although it's all mostly computer-based these days. So each qualification has got a specification, which you just mentioned, a tutor guide and a candidate guide. So those are the three kind of Bibles for each qualification. And then each qualification has got a range of support documents, which are also available on the website. So there is a lot of support there. Sometimes people have to kind of look for it, know that it is there and look for it, but it is there.
So a candidate guide would be a kind of information for the student.
Yep.
So they'd know what was expected.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, if they read that and actually take in what it says.
I'm sure they're all very diligent.
Yeah, sure they are.
Yes, but
a lot of the answers to their frequently asked questions are actually in their candidate guide.